just got done watching the trial of Ahmaud Arbery and the Michaels, and it's fascinating. It's sad, It's definitely sad, and but it's fascinating at the same time because about the teaching moments. The prosecutors were teachers. I don't know the lady's name, but she was brilliant. She was a teacher. She helped us understand what the charges were. She helped us understand what the differences, what the Michaels thought they were doing, and what the charges were. For example, they were talking about probable cause, and the Michaels have their idea of what they thought probable cause is and relates to the law, which is not related to the law. It was just an emotional choice, and they were trying to justify their decision. And then the prosecutor explained what probable cause really was, and it's so important. And she taught it. She taught it not only to the Michaels, who was on trial, but she also taught it to the jury members and us viewers. And it's important because when you have these kind of teaching, because it's about law. That's all this is about. It's not about emotion, who you like, who you don't like, who you're rooting for, who you're not rooting for. It's about law. And were these folks, did they act in the boundaries of the law or not? They killed somebody. That's serious. You killed somebody. So if you killed somebody, you better had been a citizen. You better have been acting within the bounds of the law, whether it's for yourself or for that other individual. You better have been, and you better be able to explain it. So he used probable cause. The Michaels, the prosecutor explained what probable cause is. Now, this is important in a sense because we as people are emotional. So we look and we'll choose a team and we'll be emotional about it. So you look at the Michaels, you may be rooting for them. They dress a certain way. Maybe you think they're trying to do what's best for the community, these kind of things. Those kind of things. So it's broad because that's how we're talking. It's broad. So we latch onto the broad. Hey, it was just self-defense. That's broad. Hey, it's probable cause. These are broad terms. We don't even know what they mean. We don't know what they mean, but they're broad terms. But in our mind, we'll tell our stories as we're watching, whether you're a jury or a spectator, whatever it is, what these terms mean. And then we'll say, okay, well, they had probable cause because they said they had probable cause. So they have probable cause. And I'm going to believe them. And I like them, right? I like the way they look. I like the way they talk. I like the way they dress. I like them. That's bias. Anytime you like something or dislike something, that's bias. So I like them. But when the prosecutor explains what probable cause is, and the defense did not object, they explain what probable cause is. Well, then the Michaels' idea of probable cause doesn't fit into it. The Michaels say probable cause is I suspected somebody was doing a crime. Well, that's not probable cause. Probable cause is if you actually saw the crime. You saw it happen. It just happened. You saw it happen, not hearsay, not somebody said it. You saw it, and then the chase is on. They didn't see nothing. They don't know nothing. They don't even know what crime happened. So the probable cause doesn't work. The Michaels talked about self-defense. This is another thing. They talked about self-defense. They said that Ahmaud Arbery was reaching for the gun, self-defense. That makes sense, right? Self-defense, he's reaching for the gun. I got to protect myself. He's reaching for my gun. I got to protect myself. It makes sense, right? Except, is this situation self-defense? And you're not going to know if it's self-defense unless we break down step by step how you got there. And that's what the prosecutors did. They broke down step by step how you got there. Like, why'd you leave the house? Why'd you grab your gun? Why were you even chasing him? Step by step. What led to this? And there was many things that led to this, from blocking him with the vehicles to chasing him to he's going the other way and you're chasing him and you're yelling at him. Did you call the police? No, I didn't call the police. Why didn't you call the police? This goes on and on and on. And then we finally get to the point where the Michaels has guns out on this guy. And then there was a scuffle and you shoot him and then you say self-defense, right? Well, the self-defense is self-defense. You can't, like the prosecutor said, you can't claim self-defense if you're the aggressor. You're chasing him in vehicles. You have the weapons. He doesn't have weapons. He doesn't have a vehicle. You can't claim self-defense because you corner him and then he reaches to protect himself and then you shoot him. That's not self-defense. So what happens when we have this explanation of what self-defense really is, or when we have a true story of what happened, And the Michaels told the story. The prosecutors didn't tell the story. The Michaels told the story. Then we have understanding. It takes the emotion out of it. It takes the, do I like this guy, not like this guy? It takes all that out of it. And you just look at the situation like, oh, wow, is this within the bounds? If this is within the bounds of law, what you did, you chased this guy, you shot this guy, you killed him. Was this in the bounds of law? You know what I'm saying? These are the questions that you ask yourself. You ask yourself. And it takes the emotion out, it takes the bias out. At one time, the defense tried to create emotion when they talked about Ahmaud Arbery, how he was dressed, his shoes, and they even talked about his toenails. So they're trying to create this emotion that this guy's not a good guy. And they're trying to paint it this way, and as if they have some sort of sympathy. But truthfully, that's emotional. It doesn't matter if he's a good guy or not. It doesn't even matter if the Michaels are a good guy or not. Did they do what they did? Because they murdered somebody, right? You gotta explain that. You don't just get to murder somebody. You really gotta explain it. So, did they do what they did within the bounds of? In the bounds, I say bounds. I can't think of anything else. In the bounds of law. Were they justified? Could they do that in the bounds of law to this other citizen, whether he's a good guy or not? It doesn't matter. He's a citizen. Doesn't matter what his history is, what he did or didn't do. It doesn't matter. We're talking about at this point in time where you're chasing this citizen. Why? What was your reason? Was it justified? Was it in the bounds of law? That's what we're looking at. And did Ahmaud Arbery, was he able to, did he act within the bounds of law within himself? Same thing. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at emotion. So the jury found, based on all this, the jury found the Michaels and this other person, I can't remember his name, guilty. They found it guilty. No emotion, no biases, just looking at the facts, looking at the case, looking at the laws as explained to them by the prosecution, not objected by defense, and they came with the conclusion. This wasn't justifiable. And as I watch it, I'm going to say the same thing. It wasn't justifiable. It wasn't justifiable to grab your gun. It wasn't justifiable to grab your gun out of your house and start chasing a guy that you don't even know what he did. It wasn't justifiable. It wasn't justifiable. When you talk to him the first time and he says, I don't want to talk to you. He didn't even say, I want to talk to you. He didn't say anything. He just went the other way. It indicates he doesn't want to talk to you. It's not justifiable to keep chasing him, but they did. They kept chasing him. And then finally, after the third time, how many times it was, where he's going different directions, kind of get away. He's pinned in by one truck. He's going different way. Finally, an altercation came about. And it's undeniable that altercation was going to come out because the Michaels got out of their truck with guns and they're facing him and they're confronting him. Trying to force him to stop, trying to force him to talk, trying to force him to do whatever they think they're going to do because they have these weapons. And they didn't have the right to do that. And Ahmaud Arbery defended himself to his death. He defended himself to his death. And now, after the fact, Ahmaud Arbery is passed on. These men want to claim that it's self-defense. They want to claim that it's self-defense. They want to say that Ahmaud Arbery went for the gun or punched the guy with self-defense. But Ahmaud Arbery didn't have a choice. As a matter of fact, statistically, I would imagine that if you face off with a guy who's got a gun pointed at you, finger on the trigger, statistically, I imagine you're gonna die. You're gonna get shot or you're gonna die. So that's not much of a fight. So why would somebody do that? Because they probably felt, can't think for Ahmaud Arbery, but they probably felt they didn't have a choice. But there's still a little bit of disappointment as some people look at this because it took so long to bring justice to it. For example, the date I'm hearing, it took 72 days, almost 3 months to bring charges up against these men. Almost 3 months. Like, why did it take that long? What was the holdup? What was the cover up? What was going on? So people are disappointed in that aspect of that. Justice wasn't brought immediately, and it wasn't even brought up on its own. A video had leaked out, and because of this video, this very graphic video that discussed all of us, then charges were brought about. And so people were like saying, like, if the video wasn't out there, then what would have happened? Would these men have gotten away with it? That's the scary thing. If the video wasn't out there, would these men have gotten away with it? So there's justice, but at the same time, it's like this was special circumstances with special evidence. And it's a disappointment that in this situation, this is how far we have to go. Citizens, to get this justice. It's a disappointment. But if you can have some sort of hope or some sort of good news in situations, that moving forward, I believe cases like this, people are going to be looking at so much more closely. Video or not video, you got to justify it, just like in the trial with the prosecution, asking all the questions they did to with the Michaels, where they had to justify and explain what they did. When I watched the Michaels on trial, I think his name is Travis, watched him on trial, he did not do a good job of explaining why he made the choices he did. He just didn't do a good job. And the reason why, in my opinion, he didn't do a good job explaining, because he didn't have any good reasons. He didn't have a justification for what he did. He didn't have good reasons. I don't think he was intending to kill this person, but he didn't have a problem. I don't feel like he had a problem that he killed him. I don't think he had a problem with it. I think in his mind, he was confronting this guy on his authority. He thinks he has authority. And this guy didn't listen to him, whatever it was. Ahmaud Arbery didn't listen to him. And so he's going to use his authority with this gun. I feel like he's done it before. Not with Ahmaud, but with other people. And he's going to push this. They're wrestling, or Ahmaud's punching him. I don't know if they're wrestling for the gun. He had no problem pulling that trigger 3 times. 3 times. He just had no problem pulling it. He didn't have to pull the trigger. He didn't have to pull out his gun. There's so many things he didn't have to do. But him explaining how he got to that point, he just couldn't, in a justifiable way, he couldn't explain it. He could tell his story, what he said in his head, but even then, he doesn't look like he believes it. But anyway, that's all I got.